If you work for money and then let it sit in the bank, you are working for others, not for yourself. Robert Kiyosaki. For decades, the financial system taught us to blindly trust one idea: that money kept in the bank is synonymous with security. From a young age, we heard phrases like, save for the future, keep your money in the bank, it's the safest thing to do, or having a savings account is the first step toward success. But no one explained to us that, in reality, the bank doesn't pay you to take care of your money, it gets rich off it. Imagine you deposit $10,000 into your savings account. The bank offers you 3% annual interest. That means that, at the end of a year, you'll receive $300. But during that same year, that same money was lent by the bank to other people at rates of 15, 20, or even 30% on credit cards and personal loans. The bank keeps the difference, and you're left with the illusion of having earned interest. That difference isn't just mathematical, it's a metaphor for the modern financial world. Banks use your money to multiply their wealth while you settle for crumbs. They tell you you're saving, when in reality you're financing the growth of an institution that doesn't share your interests. Now let's talk about something almost no one wants to see: inflation. Every year the money you save loses value. What you buy today for $100 will cost you $120 or $130 in a few years. While the bank pays you 3% interest, prices rise by 6 or 7%. Simply put, your money gets smaller even though the amount looks the same. And this silent loss is the reason so many workers struggle their entire lives and still never achieve financial freedom. I'll give you a concrete example. Carlos is a responsible man. He works hard, avoids debt, and has a savings account where he deposits part of his salary every month. After 20 years, he has accumulated $50,000. One day he does the math. With that money, he could buy the same car that cost $20,000 2 decades ago. But today that car is worth $45,000. His money has grown in number but lost purchasing power. Meanwhile, the bank where Carlos deposited his money used those funds to issue mortgages, credit cards, and business loans, generating millions in interest. Carlos was, without knowing it, an investor. But not in himself but in the bank. That's the big deception. They make you believe that saving is protecting you, when in reality they're using you as the engine of the system. Banks don't profit from holding money, but from moving it around. And while you keep your savings safe, afraid of losing them, they circulate them to multiply their profits. Think about this. What was the last financial advice you heard from a bank? They probably told you, save more, open a fixed-term deposit account, protect your money here. They'll never tell you, invest in income-generating assets, because if you do that, they lose their source of cheap capital. Banks are businesses, not guardians of your prosperity. Many people believe their money is safe and sound in a vault. But in reality, the bank doesn't even hold 10% of the cash it claims to safeguard. The rest exists only as digital numbers in its system, backed by your trust. The day that trust is broken, the whole house of cards collapses. That's why banks aren't based on gold or banknotes, they're based on your faith. But here's the paradox. The system isn't inherently bad. It's simply a game. And the problem isn't that the bank wins, but that you don't participate. The secret lies in understanding how they play so you can stop being their customer and become their partner. Let's look at what the wealthy do. They don't accumulate money in savings accounts. They invest it in assets that appreciate in value: real estate, businesses, bonds, stocks, digital ventures, or even knowledge. While most people sleep soundly knowing their money is safe, the wealthy sleep soundly knowing their money is working for them. And working for yourself doesn't always mean starting a business or having a lot of capital. It means understanding the flow of money and learning how to manage it. Because if you don't manage it, someone else will. Let's go back to banks. Every time you deposit money, the bank creates credit. Thanks to the fractional reserve banking system, it can lend up to 10 times the amount it receives. In other words, if you deposit $1,000, the bank can lend $10,000. That is, your money multiplies, but not for you. For them. Think about it. The bank doesn't create wealth, it redistributes it. It takes your trust, packages it as loans, sells it with interest, and then gives you a small portion as a thank you for saving. This model survives because millions of people still believe that keeping money idle is the same as having safe money. But security is a costly illusion. When money doesn't circulate, it dies. Inflation erodes it, taxes drain it, and opportunities pass it by. True financial security lies not in immobility, but in the intelligence with which you circulate your resources. Let's look at a historical example. In the 1980s in Latin America, many people lost their savings due to banking crises and devaluations. Those who had blindly trusted their accounts saw years of hard work vanish. But a select few, Those who had invested in tangible assets, land, property, businesses, maintained their value or even profited. It wasn't luck, it was an understanding of the economic cycle. The same thing is happening today but in a more sophisticated way. Modern crises are digital. Tech bubbles, hidden inflation, manipulated interest rates. However, the root cause is the same. Those who understand money make it grow. Those who fear it slowly lose it. And here's the uncomfortable truth. The financial system is designed to make you a consumer, not an investor. You're taught to buy, not to create, to go into debt, not to invest. Every bank advertisement appeals to your emotions. Fulfill your dreams, buy now, pay later, enjoy without worry. But behind those phrases lies a meticulously crafted strategy to keep you in the credit game. The bank wins every time you postpone your financial decisions. It profits when you leave your money idle, it profits when you borrow, it profits when you use your card, it profits when you pay fees. And yet, it still tells you it does it for your security. Did you know that the world's greatest fortunes are not in bank accounts, but in assets that generate constant income? Money held in reserve doesn't create wealth. Money circulating does. Every dollar, every soul, every euro, every rupee must have a purpose, to multiply. When money flows, it creates value. When it stagnates, it rusts. Let's consider a current example. Anna, a young woman who decides to invest $200 a month in an index fund that grows by an average of 10% annually. In 20 years, she would have approximately $150,000. In contrast, if she kept that money in the bank at 3%, she would only have $65,000. The difference isn't in how much she earns, but in her understanding of money. And the same applies on a small scale. An entrepreneur who reinvests profits in improving their product grows. An employee who uses part of their salary to develop a new skill opens a new source of income. But those who hoard everything for security condemn themselves to stagnation. True wealth begins when you stop seeking stability and start seeking expansion. Because money, like energy, needs movement. If you stop it, it loses its power. The myth of financial security was created by those who profit from your fear. The fear of losing makes you hold on to things, and holding on without a strategy makes you lose. Change begins when you understand that money wasn't meant to be hoarded, but to be invested. There comes a time in life when you ask yourself, what if, instead of fearing losing money, I learned how to grow it? That's the question that separates the saver from the investor. The saver seeks peace of mind. The investor seeks freedom. The former sleeps with their money idle. The latter with their money working for them. And the curious thing is that both think the other is taking more risk. But in reality, the one who takes the most risk is the one who does nothing. You don't need millions to get started. You just need a new way of thinking. Because when you understand how the money game works, you stop playing the role of a pawn and start moving like a strategist. Banks will continue to exist, but you can decide how to use them. As a tool, not as a refuge. Money in the bank can be useful for transactions, transfers, or temporary protection. But it's not for building wealth. Wealth is built through vision, action, and education. Just as a farmer doesn't store seeds hoping they will multiply on their own, you can't store your money hoping it will flourish without having planted it in fertile soil. Ultimately, money is simply a reflection of your mindset. If you see it as something to be protected, you'll live in fear. If you see it as something to be put to work, you'll live with purpose. And the purpose of money is to circulate, to create, to produce, to expand. When you align your mindset with that principle, you will cease to be a slave to the financial system and become its architect. The great deception of money in the bank isn't that the bank lies to you, but that you don't look beyond it. The truth has always been right in front of you. Money is a servant, not a master. But as long as you keep it locked away, it works for someone else. But before we continue, please write in the comments which country you're listening to this audiobook from, and if this message resonates with you, please like and share this post. This way you'll ensure you don't miss any content that nourishes your mind and brings you closer each day to the life you truly deserve. There's no time to lose. Now let's continue. Chapter 1. The biggest mistake. Saving money in the bank. Saving money in the bank seems like a smart move. It's what we've been taught. Saving is responsible, keeping money safe is a sign of maturity. But the truth is more uncomfortable than it seems. Saving money in the bank doesn't make you richer, it slows you down. It's like running a marathon with a backpack full of rocks, believing it will protect you from the wind. The banking system thrives on this habit, on our need to feel secure, even if that security is a carefully crafted illusion. Every time someone deposits money, the bank gets rich. It uses it to lend to others, invest in bonds, finance mortgages, and generate interest for itself. It's a perfect business, They take your money almost for free and sell it for a high price. The margin between what they pay you and what they charge is their profit, and you are the raw material for that machine. The irony is that the customer believes the bank is doing them a favor by holding their money, when in reality, the customer is the one who keeps the bank's business alive. Imagine this. You deposit $10,000. The bank offers you 3% annual interest. In 1 year you earn $300. Meanwhile, that same bank uses your money to lend someone else $10,000, but charges 15% interest. They earn $1,500 on that loan. You receive $300, they keep $1,200. Multiply that difference by millions of customers, and you'll understand why banks are the most profitable companies in the world, even when you're barely making ends meet. The system is designed to work this way. Banks don't create wealth, they manage it. Their business is moving money from those who hold it to those who use it, charging a fee on every transaction. And you, meanwhile, watch your account grow, a few cents each month, unaware that you're losing purchasing power with every passing day. Because this is where the silent enemy comes in: inflation. That constant rise in prices that erodes the real value of money. It doesn't matter how much you save if the price of everything rises faster than your savings grow. It's a race where money never wins. Let's say you save $1,000 and the bank pays you 3% annual interest. At the end of the year, you have $1,030. But if inflation was 7%, the purchasing power of that money is only $960. In other words, you have more money in your account but less real wealth. Inflation doesn't hit you all at once. It's not an earthquake, it's a steady trickle. Milk that used to cost $1 now costs $1.20. Rent goes up, gas prices rise, utility bills adjust, and suddenly you realize your money buys less than it did last year. The most dangerous thing about inflation is that it disguises itself as normal. We get used to everything costing a little more, but we don't understand that our money, saved for the future, is slowly disappearing. The mistake lies in believing that saving money equals progress. It doesn't. Saving was a valid strategy when the economy was stable, when money held its value, and bank interest rates outpaced inflation. But that world no longer exists. Today, banks pay less than money loses, and those who don't invest are trapped in a cycle of constant work with no real growth. Saving money is like filling a bucket with a small hole in the bottom. No matter how much you fill it, the water leaks out. You don't notice it at first, but in the end, the result is the same. The effort is wasted. That's why people who only save rarely achieve financial independence. They work, they save, they work again, and each year their money is worth a little less. It's not their fault, it's the system. But there is an alternative: making money work for you. And that starts with a different mindset. It's not about how much you earn, but what you do with what you earn. Every penny has hidden potential. It can be just a number in the bank, or it can be a seed that bears more fruit. The wealthy understand this. They don't hoard money. They put it to work in assets that generate a steady flow. Property, businesses, investments, education, or even other people's time. Let's take the case of two friends, Diego and Andres. They both earn the same salary. Diego saves 20% of his income and puts it in the bank. Andres does the same, but each month he invests that money in a fund that gives him an 8% annual return. After 10 years, Diego has enough money to buy a new car. Andres, on the other hand, has an investment portfolio that generates monthly income. One saved to buy something, the other invested so he wouldn't have to save again. That's the difference between saving and multiplying. Money in the bank is dormant money. It doesn't produce, it doesn't work, it doesn't multiply. And when money sleeps, someone else gets up to work with it. The bank, the government, corporations, they all know how to move your money to create more. You only see the balance, they see the flow. That's why the big players in the system never keep cash idle. They know that the value of money isn't in having it, but in circulating it intelligently. Another trap of traditional saving is fear. We save money out of fear of losing it. But fear doesn't generate wealth, only stagnation. Total security doesn't exist in the financial world. Every option carries risk, even doing nothing. Saving money seems like the safest thing to do, but in reality, it's the slowest way to lose it. It will be eroded by inflation, taxes, or missed opportunities. The goal isn't to stop saving, but to understand why you're saving. Your savings should have a purpose. To invest, to protect yourself, to generate cash flow. Not simply to accumulate. If money has no purpose, it vanishes. Saving is a tool, not an end in itself. Used correctly, it can be the first step toward investing. Used without a strategy, it becomes an invisible wall separating you from growth. There's a phrase that sums it all up: money that doesn't move dies. Every bill sitting in the bank, Every dollar you don't invest is a frozen opportunity. And the only way to bring it back to life is to make it work. That can mean many things. Investing in yourself, in knowledge, in projects, in income-generating assets, or simply in free time to create something new. In a world where the system rewards those who dare to move money, standing still is the most costly mistake. There is no wealth without movement. There is no progress without risk. There is no freedom without decision. Keeping money in the bank may give you momentary peace of mind, but it will never give you independence. Because true financial freedom begins when you stop working for money and start making money work for you. Chapter 2. Understand the game. Assets versus liabilities. Money obeys laws as precise as those of physics. If you don't direct it, it disperses. If you don't control it, it disappears. And if you don't understand how it flows, you'll always be working for someone who does. That's the difference between those who build wealth and those who merely chase it. It all boils down to a simple, almost childish yet powerful formula. The rich buy assets, the poor buy liabilities, believing they are assets. This phrase, popularized by Robert Kiyosaki, isn't just theory, it's a snapshot of modern economic reality. But what exactly is an asset? An asset is anything that puts money in your pocket, today or in the future. A liability, on the other hand, is anything that takes money out of it. It's that simple. It doesn't matter if it's a house, a car, a phone, or even a job. If it generates income, it's an asset. If it generates expenses, it's a liability. The problem is that the system has taught us to confuse them. It makes us believe that owning things is the same as having wealth, when in reality many of those things are consumer traps disguised as progress. Imagine Laura. She buys a new car, proud of her accomplishment. The salesperson tells her it's an investment because of its high sentimental value and the promise of a more comfortable life. But as soon as she drives it off the lot, the car begins to depreciate. Every month she pays for fuel, insurance, maintenance, and taxes. This vehicle, while it brings her satisfaction, doesn't generate income. It's a liability. Now imagine Andres, who buys a used car, modifies it for executive transportation, and earns a profit every month. In this case, the same object, a car, becomes an asset. It's not the object itself that defines its nature, but how you use it. Assets aren't always visible. Many of the most valuable ones can't be touched or measured in immediate figures. Your knowledge, your network, your professional reputation, your productive time, your mental health, these are all invisible assets. If you cultivate them, they produce tangible results. If you neglect them, they depreciate like any property. The problem is that, since they aren't reflected in a bank account, most people ignore them. But it's these invisible assets that underpin real financial growth. Let's take the example of a chef. They can work for a restaurant and receive a fixed salary, or they can develop their skills, create their own brand, open a digital channel, and monetize their knowledge. In the first scenario, their skill is used by others. In the second, it becomes their primary asset. Talent, when used strategically, can be more profitable than any financial investment. Visible assets are easier to identify. Income-generating properties, investments in stocks or funds, cash-generating businesses, royalties, copyrights, digital ventures, or even collectibles with increasing value. Each of these has one thing in common. They generate income or appreciate over time. Liabilities, on the other hand, are what drain your cash flow. Mortgages, debts, subscriptions, cars, gadgets, loans, and lifestyles that grow faster than your income. The mistake lies in believing that financial success comes from how much you earn. In reality, it comes from how you allocate your earnings. There are people who earn thousands of dollars a month and live in debt, and others who earn half that amount and are building financial freedom. The difference isn't in the salary but in understanding the game. To shift your mindset from consumer to investor, you first need to look at yourself. Every time you receive money, you face a decision. Do I spend it or invest it? Consumers seek immediate gratification. Investors seek sustained growth. One wants to feel good today, the other wants to live well tomorrow. That difference, applied each month, changes your destiny. Think about your daily habits. Consumers buy a new phone every year, even if the old one works fine. Investors consider whether that purchase will generate a return or solve a real problem. Consumers spend money on clothes to impress. Investors invest in their personal image only if it improves their career or brand. Consumers pay for entertainment. Investors pay for education. Both use money but for opposite purposes. One spends it, the other makes it grow. Most people aren't born with an investor mindset because the education system doesn't teach it. We're prepared to be employees, not asset owners. We're educated to make money, not to understand it. Changing that requires awareness. It means looking at every financial decision with a question. Does this generate or deplete my cash flow? When that question becomes automatic, you begin to see money differently. Let's look at a concrete example. Imagine you save $200 every month. If you keep it in the bank, it will barely grow. But if you use it to buy tools that allow you to offer a service, a camera, software, a course to help you sell more, that same $200 can generate an additional $50, $100, or $200 each month. In just a few months, you recoup your investment and start making a profit. That cycle is the heart of investment thinking, turning expenses into seeds. Changing your mindset also means accepting that assets take time. Not all of them generate immediate results. A property can take years to appreciate, a business can need months to become profitable, a skill can take hundreds of hours to perfect. But every effort in that direction builds freedom. Liabilities, on the other hand, offer instant gratification and prolonged pain. You enjoy buying, you suffer paying. The first practical step to mastering this game is creating your own personal financial statement. You don't need to be an accountant. You just need honesty. Take a sheet of paper and draw 2 columns. In the first, write down all your assets, everything that generates income no matter how small. In the second, list your liabilities, everything that involves expenses or debt. Include absolutely everything: subscriptions, loans, fees, fixed expenses. When you're finished, look at the result. If your liabilities column is longer, don't worry. 90% of people are in the same boat. The important thing is to acknowledge it, because what gets measured gets improved. The next step is to ask yourself, what can I do to increase my assets and reduce my liabilities each month? Perhaps you could rent out an empty room, offer freelance services, create content, sell something you no longer use, or learn a profitable skill. You don't need a lot of capital. You need intention. Every additional income you generate without increasing your expenses brings you closer to freedom. Remember this: every financial decision is a choice between building your future or supporting someone else's. Every time you take on a liability, you're funding someone else's assets. When you buy a new car, you're feeding the car company's assets. When you buy unnecessary clothes, you're paying for the designer's or brand owner's assets. But when you invest in yourself, in your project, in your growth, you're funding your own assets. The money game isn't won with speed, but with direction. It doesn't matter how much you earn, it matters where it flows. If you can direct most of your income toward assets that generate more income, eventually your assets will work for you. That's when money stops being a chore and becomes an ally. Understanding assets and liabilities is like learning to speak the language of money. Once you master it, every decision makes sense, every expense has a purpose, and every income has a destination. Most people never learn this language and spend their lives confusing movement with progress. But you can choose differently. You can start today with what you have to build a solid asset base that frees you from the cycle of consumption. Because in the financial game, freedom isn't won by accumulating money, but by accumulating assets. Chapter 3, Asset Number 1. Real Estate, the Power of Land That Never Sleeps. Andrew Carnegie, one of the richest men in history, once said, 90% of millionaires owe their wealth to real estate. That statement is neither an exaggeration nor a coincidence. Behind every great fortune, visible or hidden, there are always bricks, land, or buildings working silently. The wealthy love real estate because they understand a truth that most overlook. Land cannot be manufactured. Its quantity is limited, and as the world grows in population and demand, its value multiplies. Real estate has a unique quality: it's an asset that never sleeps. While you rest, while the market fluctuates, while currencies lose value, the land remains, generating income, accumulating capital gains, and protecting your wealth. It's the historical haven of smart money. For centuries, those who control property have controlled the flow of wealth. Not because it's a game reserved for millionaires, but because those who understand its power learn to use it even from a young age. Why do the wealthy love real estate? Because they know that inflation, which erodes savings, increases the value of tangible assets. If money loses purchasing power year after year, keeping it in the bank is like leaving ice in the sun. But real estate does the exact opposite. It appreciates over time. It's a way to use inflation to your advantage. When the price of everything else rises, so does the value of your property and the amount you can charge in rent. What is a loss for others becomes a gain for you if you have the right asset. Think of it this way: while most people see the cost of living rise and complain, property owners see their monthly rent increase. It's the same phenomenon, viewed from two opposite sides of the financial spectrum. Furthermore, the real estate sector offers three major sources of income that make it an engine of freedom: Rent, capital gains, and leverage. Rent is the monthly cash flow, the money received from the use of the asset. Capital gains is the increase in value over time. And leverage is the possibility of using other people's money, such as loans or financing, to build your own wealth. Let's take a simple example. Maria buys a small apartment with a mortgage. She rents it out, and the tenant pays rent that covers almost the entire loan payment. Over time, the property appreciates in value, the loan decreases, and Maria ends up with an asset that paid for itself. In 10 years, she not only has a debt-free property, but she also received rental income the entire time. That's smart leverage, using external resources to build wealth without relying solely on your own funds. Many people think that investing in real estate requires millions, but that's not always the case. Today, there are multiple strategies for starting small. One of the most effective is fractional ownership or participatory buying. Digital platforms allow you to invest in a share of a property and receive proportional returns. There are also smaller-scale properties, land under development, parking spaces, mini apartments, shared commercial spaces, or low-cost renovations that are then rented out. Another powerful strategy is renting by the room or co-living. Instead of renting an entire apartment to a single person, it's divided into furnished rooms for several tenants, multiplying the monthly income. Many young investors start this way, even renting a property first, remodeling it with the owner's permission, and then subletting the spaces. With organization and vision, what seems impossible becomes the first step toward an asset portfolio. The key is to think like an investor, not a consumer. Consumers buy a house to live better. Investors buy it to generate cash flow. Consumers focus on the emotional connection to the space. Investors focus on the return per square meter. Both enjoy real estate, but only one lets it work for them. Let's look at another real-world example. In 2008, when real estate prices plummeted in the United States, many sold out of fear. But some, like Grant Cardone, saw an opportunity. They bought properties at low prices, rented them out, and maintained them. Today, those same properties are worth 10 times more and generate thousands of dollars in passive income. The difference wasn't the initial capital, but the mindset. While some saw risk, others saw value. Even in times of crisis, real estate continues to demonstrate resilience. After every recession, prices tend to recover and even surpass previous levels. Why? Because the need for housing never disappears. People may stop buying cars or gadgets, but they will always need a roof over their heads. That constant demand makes homeownership one of the safest ways to preserve value. The secret is to study the local market, understand the location, the demand, and the ideal tenant. You don't need to become an expert overnight, but you do need to do your research. A good location can double or triple the return on an investment. It's not just about buying cheap, but about buying strategically. An inexpensive property in an undeveloped area can take years to appreciate. On the other hand, one in an area with planned transportation, universities, or shopping centers can double its value in a short time. Another way to get started without a large amount of capital is house hacking, a strategy used by many young investors. It involves buying a multi-family property or one with several units, living in one of them and renting out the others. This way, the rent covers your mortgage and you live practically for free. Over time, you can repeat the process and accumulate assets that pay for themselves. The important thing to understand is that every brick can be a seed. Even a small plot of land, a rented room, or a parking space can become your starting point. Size doesn't matter as much as cash flow. If each asset generates income and not expenses, you're making progress. The real estate market also offers a psychological advantage. It's tangible. You can see it, touch it, feel it. That provides a sense of stability that few investments offer. When money is in stocks or cryptocurrencies, fluctuations can be overwhelming. But a property remains firm, visible, concrete. That emotional factor has led entire generations to trust bricks and mortar as a symbol of prosperity. Of course, success isn't guaranteed. As with any asset, there are risks. Choosing the wrong location, over-indebtedness, failing to calculate maintenance costs or taxes. That's why financial education is your first investment. Studying, seeking advice, and analyzing are just as important as buying. But when you do it intelligently, real estate becomes the most powerful asset in your portfolio. Throughout history, great fortunes have been built on solid ground, both literally and metaphorically. Ancient empires, family dynasties, modern-day billionaires, all understand the power of the land that never sleeps. Because while saved money erodes, land remains. While prices fluctuate, the need for housing grows. And while most seek quick returns, true investors build legacy. Investing in real estate isn't just about making money, It's about creating stability, legacy, and freedom. Every property you acquire with purpose brings you closer to a life where your income doesn't depend on your daily effort, but on smart decisions made in the past. And that's the true definition of wealth, when your money works for you while you sleep. Chapter 4, Asset Number 2. Your skills, the capital that no one can take from you. The entrepreneur Jim Rohn said, "Work harder on yourself than on your job. If you improve, everything improves with you." That phrase encapsulates one of the most powerful truths in the financial world. Your best asset isn't in the bank, the stock market, or a property. It's inside you. Your skills are the invisible capital that sustains your future, and unlike money, no one can take them away, devalue them, or steal them. The most common mistake most people make is believing that economic value comes from a title, a company, or an external opportunity. But the market doesn't pay for pieces of paper. It pays for results. And results only come from applied skills. You can lose your job, your business, or your savings, but as long as you retain your knowledge and your ability to create value, you can rebuild yourself from scratch. That's why true investors always reinvest in their minds before any other asset. We live in an era where knowledge is worth more than gold. The rules of the game have changed. Before, a university degree guaranteed stability. Today, universities no longer guarantee employment, and degrees devalue as quickly as technological fads. In contrast, those who learn practical skills, programming, design, sales, communication, marketing, editing, negotiation, hold the key to financial independence. Because these skills are tools for solving problems, and those who solve problems are never out of work. Imagine Carla, an accountant with 20 years of experience. She lost her job during a restructuring. Instead of looking for another position, she decided to learn financial automation and digital marketing. Today, she advises small businesses remotely and earns twice what she made in her office. What changed? Not the market, but her mindset. She transformed her knowledge into service, her experience into a product. That's turning a skill into an asset. The world today offers endless opportunities to monetize talents. Never before has it been easier to turn knowledge into income. If you know something others want to learn, you can teach it. If you know how to do something others haven't mastered, you can offer it as a service. If you have a voice, an idea, or a story, you can share it and build a community around it. Barriers to entry have disappeared. Today you don't need permission, just purpose. Freelancing is one of the most accessible paths to success. Platforms like Upwork, Fiverr, and Workana connect millions of professionals with clients worldwide. What once required a company can now be done with a laptop and an internet connection. Designers, writers, programmers, translators, editors, consultants. Everyone can create their own business without bosses or fixed schedules. The secret isn't competing on price, but on value. Those who master a skill and offer it with excellence will never lack clients. But freelancing isn't the only path. There's also consulting, turning your experience into strategic solutions for others. If you have specialized knowledge, in finance, leadership, health, education, technology, you can package it and sell it as a service. Consultants don't sell time, they sell clarity. And clarity is always in demand. Then there are digital businesses which allow you to scale your skills without limits. A photographer can teach others how to master light. A trainer can sell personalized workout routines. A lawyer can offer online consultations. A musician can create courses or commission compositions. When you build digital products, ebooks, audio courses, templates, memberships, virtual workshops, you transform your limited time into an asset that generates income even while you sleep. The key is understanding that knowledge only becomes profitable when it's packaged, communicated, and offered to the market. It's not enough to simply know. You have to know how to present yourself. Many experts barely scrape by because they never learn to market their talent. In contrast, those who master communication multiply their impact. That's why, in addition to learning technical skills, you must invest in soft skills. Public speaking, writing, persuasion, negotiation, and leadership. These are the skills that amplify everything else. A well-developed skill becomes a lifelong asset. Think about it. Property can lose value, a stock can plummet, but what you learn stays with you forever. You can take it to any country, adapt it to any industry, and reinvent yourself as many times as necessary. That's the freedom that knowledge provides. But there's a golden rule: skills depreciate if they aren't updated. In a world that changes every year, what you know today can become obsolete tomorrow. That's why truly wealthy people are lifelong learners. They read, experiment, practice, fail, and learn. They understand that the mind is like a muscle. If you don't exercise it, it atrophies. Every book, course, or experience you absorb isn't an expense. It's an investment that generates exponential returns over time. One of the most valuable skills of the 21st century is learning how to learn. Those who master the process of rapid learning have an advantage in any industry. It's no longer about accumulating information, but about applying it. Traditional education teaches you to memorize. Modern education teaches you to execute. Therefore, the most profitable investment isn't in the financial market, but in your ability to adapt. Let's look at a prime example, Elon Musk. Before building rockets, he never studied aerospace engineering. He learned on his own, reading manuals and surrounding himself with experts. His greatest skill isn't building rockets, but learning what others believe is impossible. This self-taught mindset is the essence of the modern investor. Someone who doesn't wait for the system to give them permission to grow. Your goal should be to create a portfolio of monetizable skills. Not one that relies on a single talent, but on a set of complementary competencies. For example, if you know how to write, learn how to sell. If you know how to sell, learn digital marketing. If you know marketing, learn automation. Each new skill multiplies the value of the previous ones. The more tools you have, the more opportunities you can create. Imagine your skills are like shares in a personal stock market. Each one can rise or fall depending on how much you use, improve, or update them. If you stop practicing them, they lose value. But if you consistently invest them, their price skyrockets. Your goal isn't to work harder, but to work smarter with the internal assets you possess. And here's the most powerful point. Your skills generate immediate returns. You don't need to wait years to see results. Every day you learn something new and apply it, you're increasing your market value. If you charge by the hour, your hours are worth more. If you own a business, your decisions become more effective. If you're an employee, you become indispensable. If you're an entrepreneur, you broaden your horizons. Knowledge doesn't experience inflation. While money loses value, skills gain relevance. In times of crisis, physical assets may depreciate, but talent-based services become more essential. Major technological shifts don't eliminate jobs. They eliminate obsolete skills. That's why those who are constantly learning never fear the future. Ultimately, your most powerful asset is you. Your ideas, your creativity, your ability to solve problems, adapt, learn, and serve. If you invest in yourself, the returns will be reflected in everything you touch. Because money, in the end, always flows toward value, and value comes from skills. Never forget this. What you know can take you where money can't. Knowledge is weightless, cannot be stolen, and cannot be spent. It's the only asset that multiplies when you share it. So invest fearlessly in your growth, because every book, every course, every mistake, and every attempt are invisible bricks building your freedom. Chapter 5, Asset Number 3, Gold, the Safe Haven of the Intelligent Investor. Napoleon Bonaparte once said, "Gold is the money of power, debt is the money of the slave." Few assets in human history have withstood the test of time as well as gold. From ancient civilizations to modern economies, this metal has been the universal symbol of wealth, confidence, and stability. While empires rose and fell, while currencies were replaced or devalued, gold always remained. That's why it's called real money. Not because it shines, but because it represents intrinsic value, something paper money never had. In economic history, gold has served an essential function, protecting people's purchasing power against political instability and inflation. When governments print more money to finance their spending, the value of currencies falls. But gold, being scarce and tangible, maintains its value. It is the natural safe haven when everything else falters. Wise people don't buy it to get rich quick, but to preserve what they have already built. To understand its importance, one only needs to look back. In the 19th century, an ounce of gold could buy a fine suit. More than 100 years later, that same ounce, now worth around $1,900 or $2,000, can still buy a suit of the same quality. This demonstrates its power. While coins lose value, gold retains its purchasing power across generations. No other currency in history has achieved that. During the Great Depression of 1929, while millions lost everything in the stock market, those who held gold maintained their purchasing power. In the 1970s, when inflation in the United States exceeded 10% annually, gold soared and doubled in value in a matter of months. In more recent crises, such as the 2008 financial crisis or the 2020 pandemic, it once again demonstrated its role as a financial shield. It is, in essence, the silent reserve that the wealthy never neglect. But why does it remain so valuable in a digital age? Because, unlike electronic money or cryptocurrencies, gold is tangible, finite, and universal. It doesn't depend on central banks, power grids, or political systems. It's an asset that transcends borders and cultures. In any country at any time, a gold coin will always have value. It needs no introduction or guarantee. That is its true power. However, not all gold is created equal. There are two main forms of investment: physical gold and digital or financial gold. Physical gold includes coins, bars, and jewelry of certified purity. Its advantage is that you own it directly without intermediaries. No one can freeze your account or prevent you from using it. Its disadvantage lies in logistics. It must be stored securely, protected, and in some cases you may have to pay for safekeeping. Digital gold, on the other hand, includes ETFs, funds that track the price of gold, certificates, or even cryptocurrencies backed by real gold. Its advantage is ease of use. You can buy or sell it with a click without worrying about storage. The disadvantage is that you don't physically own it. If the financial system has a problem or the issuer goes bankrupt, your investment could be frozen. That's why many savvy investors combine both, some in physical gold as personal insurance, and some in digital instruments to take advantage of liquidity. A sensible strategy is gradual accumulation. You don't need to buy a whole ounce at once. You can acquire small fractions or low-denomination coins, such as certified grams of gold or mini bars. This way, month by month, you build your reserve without impacting your cash flow. It's like slowly planting a golden forest. Over time, that reserve becomes your strongest insurance against economic uncertainty. The rule of thumb for many experts is to hold between 5% and 10% of your total wealth in gold. Not for speculation, but for diversification. If markets fall or inflation rises, that portion acts as a counterbalance. It's a principle of equilibrium. While other assets may fluctuate, gold tends to stabilize the portfolio. And most importantly, it provides peace of mind. Some people ask, why not invest in jewelry if it's also made of gold? The answer is simple. The value of a piece of jewelry includes design, brand, and craftsmanship, but not always purity. If the goal is to protect your money, the ideal is to acquire investment-grade gold, with 999 purity or 24 carats, certified and with a verifiable invoice. Gold jewelry may have sentimental value, but reselling it usually results in a loss. It's also crucial to understand when and how to use gold. It's not about selling it at the first sign of a drop in income or an unexpected expense. Gold is your emergency fund, your reserve for times when everything else fails. A devaluation, a banking crisis, a prolonged recession. Its purpose isn't to provide cash flow but stability. When fiat currency loses credibility, gold regains prominence. In countries that have suffered monetary collapses, like Venezuela, Argentina, or Zimbabwe, gold literally became a currency of survival. People could exchange it for food, medicine, or transportation when paper money was worthless. This demonstrates that, beyond its financial value, gold represents freedom. To own gold is to have independence from the system. However, like any asset, it also carries risks. Its price can fluctuate in the short term, and it doesn't generate interest or dividends. It's not an instrument for quick profits, but for preservation. If you're looking for immediate returns, there are more dynamic options. But if you're looking for long-term stability, gold is irreplaceable. Its purpose is not to multiply wealth, but to maintain it. Imagine your wealth as a ship sailing on financial seas. Real estate is its structure, skills are its engines, and gold is the anchor. It doesn't propel you forward, but it prevents you from sinking in the storm. Without that anchor, any wind can drag you away. Another often overlooked advantage is its intergenerational portability. A small amount of gold can represent significant sums of value and be easily transferred to your children or grandchildren. It's a compact form of inheritance, free of red tape and, in many cases, immune to the inflation that erodes traditional inheritances. To start risk-free, avoid informal intermediaries and always verify authenticity. Buy from banks, certified dealers, or recognized platforms. And never put all your capital there. Gold is insurance, not a replacement for the rest of your investments. In a world dominated by debt, consumerism, and the printing of unbacked money, gold represents a form of quiet resistance. It is a reminder that true wealth isn't printed, it's preserved. That the numbers on a screen may change from day to day, but an ounce of gold will always be an ounce, here or anywhere else on the planet. That's why wise investors don't buy it because it's trendy, but because they believe in it. They know that gold doesn't promise quick profits, but it offers something more valuable: security, independence, and peace of mind. And in times of uncertainty, that's worth more than any return. Gold is not a thing of the past, it's a thing of the future. Because as the world digitizes and trust erodes, it will remain the only asset whose value depends on no one else. It is the refuge of the savvy investor, the silent witness to every crisis, and the eternal guardian of true value. Chapter 6, Asset Number 4. Own businesses, the key to financial freedom. Warren Buffett once said, "If you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you'll work yourself to death." This statement encapsulates the essence of owning your own business. It's not simply about being your own boss, but about building a system that works for you, even when you're not around. In a world where most people trade time for money, businesses are the gateway to true financial freedom. For centuries, great empires and fortunes weren't built on salaries, but on businesses, trade, and ideas that were transformed into value. Being an employee gives you temporary stability, but being an owner gives you control. When you depend on a salary, your time is limited. When you own a business, your potential multiplies because the system generates income even when you're not physically there. The business becomes an extension of yourself, a machine for creating opportunities. The difference between an employee and an owner isn't just in the title, but in the mindset. The employee seeks security, the owner seeks freedom. The former trades hours for money, the latter creates structures that generate income repeatedly. The employee fears losing their job, the owner fears not innovating. One works within the system, the other builds the system. And that makes all the difference between depending on a paycheck and living by your own decisions. Many people think that to run a business you need large amounts of capital or revolutionary ideas, but that's a myth. In reality, the most successful businesses began with a specific need and a simple solution. Jeff Bezos started selling books from his garage. Howard Schultz found inspiration for Starbucks in an Italian coffee shop. And millions of anonymous entrepreneurs began by offering local services, digital products, or handmade goods. What matters is not the initial size but the vision for growth. A profitable business is built on 3 pillars: real value, scalability, and positive cash flow. The first, intrinsic value, means solving a problem or fulfilling a need in a unique way. If your product or service doesn't improve the lives of others, no matter how much you invest in marketing, it won't grow. The second, scalability, is the ability to multiply results without multiplying effort or costs proportionally. A brick-and-mortar restaurant can serve 100 people a day. An online course can be sold to millions. That's the difference between working hard and working with leverage. The third pillar, positive cash flow, is the foundation of survival. A business can have high sales, but if it spends more than it earns, it's doomed. Cash flow is the lifeblood of any company. Without it, there is no expansion or stability. Building a scalable business doesn't mean building something huge from the start, but rather creating a system that can grow. Today, thanks to technology, anyone can set up an online store, offer digital services, create monetizable content, or build a personal brand. The internet has democratized opportunity. You no longer need an office or permanent employees. All you need is a laptop, an internet connection, and a purpose. The cost of starting is lower than ever, but the competition is also higher, so the differentiator lies in the value you deliver and the trust you build. The entrepreneur's path is neither linear nor risk-free. There will be failures, moments of doubt, and nights of uncertainty. But every mistake teaches a lesson, and every stumble strengthens one's mindset. Employees fear making mistakes because errors cost reputation. Entrepreneurs learn to see them as part of the process. Thomas Edison failed more than 1,000 times before creating the electric light bulb. When a journalist asked him how he endured so many failures, he replied, "I didn't fail 1,000 times. I discovered 1,000 ways that didn't work." That's the attitude that separates dreamers from builders. One of the keys to keeping your business alive is smart reinvestment. When revenue starts rolling in, the natural temptation is to spend, celebrate, or upgrade your lifestyle. But successful entrepreneurs reinvest a significant portion in growth, in better service, marketing, automation, or a skilled workforce. Every dollar you reinvest strategically is a seed that can multiply in the future. Reinvesting isn't an expense, it's an investment in your own independence. A solid business doesn't rely on a single source of income. The most resilient businesses have diversified revenue streams: physical products, complementary services, memberships, or digital content. This way, if one stream falters, the others support the structure. It's the principle of multiple streams. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, but don't open 100 empty baskets either. Focus first on mastering one revenue stream, and once it's stable, expand into another. Another essential lesson is understanding the difference between self-employment and a business. Many believe that having their own venture makes them free, but they remain slaves to their time. If your business depends on you to function, it's not a business, it's a job in disguise. True freedom comes when your system continues to generate income, even when you take a break. Automation, delegation, and processes are the foundations of that independence. Successful entrepreneurs don't think about products, they think about systems. McDonald's doesn't sell hamburgers, it sells a model that can be replicated thousands of times. Uber doesn't have cars, it has an automated network that connects supply and demand. Amazon doesn't have stores, it has global logistics and distribution. All these businesses share something. They operate without their founder having to be involved in every step of the process. That's the magic of business leverage. But beyond money, businesses give you something no salary can offer: freedom of choice. You can decide who to work with, which projects to accept, and how to use your time. That autonomy is the greatest luxury of the 21st century. It's not about working less, but about working on what truly matters. There are thousands of stories that prove building a business can change lives. Like that of a single mother in Mexico who started selling cakes from her kitchen and ended up opening a chain of local bakeries. Or that of a young man in Peru who began repairing cell phones at home and now runs a workshop with 10 employees. Or the Argentinian programmer who launched an online web development course and in 1 year earned more than he would have earned in 10 working for someone else. These aren't isolated cases. They're examples of what happens when someone decides to build something instead of settling for less. Financial independence isn't measured by the money in your bank account, but by the control you have over your time. A well-structured business gives you that power. And while it may require more effort at the beginning, the end result is incomparable: the ability to live by your own rules. True wealth isn't about accumulating money, but about having the ability to create value without being tied to a boss, a schedule, or a paycheck. Owning your own business is more than just a source of income. It's a declaration of freedom. It's proof that you weren't born to survive, but to create. On this path, the key isn't luck, but consistency. Most people give up before they see results. Great entrepreneurs aren't necessarily the smartest or the richest to start with. They're the most persistent. While others complain, they execute. While others doubt, they try. While others fear, they learn. And when the business finally starts to take off, when you see your ideas bear fruit, you understand something profound: that freedom isn't bought, it's built. Day by day, decision by decision, step by step. Owning your own business isn't just a financial strategy. It's an act of personal responsibility. It's taking control of your economic destiny and saying, I will no longer depend on a system that wasn't designed to set me free. That's the true essence of the most powerful asset: business. Because unlike gold or real estate, a business is the only asset that not only preserves value but multiplies it. It's the key that unlocks a life where money works for you, not the other way around. Chapter 7, Asset Number 5. Digital Investments and New Opportunities. Bill Gates once said, "If your business isn't on the internet, your business doesn't exist." That statement, made over 2 decades ago, has become a self-fulfilling prophecy. We live in the digital age, an era where opportunities are created at the speed of a click, and where those who understand the new rules of the game can multiply their wealth in ways unimaginable just a generation ago. Digital investments are not a passing fad. They are the new language of money. Those who don't learn it will be left behind in the economic system that is being built in real time. Money is no longer just banknotes and coins. It's code, data, algorithms, and decentralized trust. Cryptocurrencies, NFTs, artificial intelligence, tech startups, and the digital economy represent a paradigm shift as profound as the transition from horse to motor. And like any disruptive change, it offers enormous opportunities for those who adapt and a silent risk for those who stand idly by. The greatest danger today is not losing money but losing relevance. The rise of cryptocurrencies is the best example of how technology has democratized finance. Bitcoin was born in 2009 as a response to the global banking crisis, with a simple yet revolutionary promise: to create money without intermediaries, without banks, without governments manipulating it. Since then, it has gone from being worth pennies to thousands of dollars per unit, becoming the most profitable asset of the last decade. But beyond the price, the important thing is the idea: decentralization. Instead of relying on institutions, the system relies on mathematics, on the transparency of an open network. However, investing in cryptocurrencies is not a game. It's a volatile, emotional, and still developing market. That's why the smart investor doesn't gamble, they study. They don't chase trends, they understand the fundamentals. Before buying any digital asset, you should ask yourself 3 things. What problem does it solve? Who is behind the project? And what is its actual adoption rate? These three questions separate legitimate opportunities from traps disguised as promises. The most robust cryptocurrencies, like Bitcoin and Ethereum, have earned their place because they offer utility, community, and security. Bitcoin is digital gold, limited, decentralized, and inflation-resistant. Ethereum, on the other hand, is a platform that enables the development of bankless financial applications, smart contracts, and global payment systems. Both represent the core of the new financial ecosystem. Thousands of projects are launched around them every year, but only a few survive. That's why the number one rule in this market is, invest in what you understand, not what's trendy. Another fascinating phenomenon is NFTs, non-fungible tokens, which have revolutionized our understanding of digital property. An NFT can represent a work of art, a song, a video, or even a virtual terrain within a metaverse. In 2021, digital artists sold unique pieces for millions of dollars. But beyond art, NFTs open the door to new business models. Tokenized event tickets, exclusive memberships, digital certificates, collectibles, and licenses. Essentially, they transform any digital creation into an asset with verifiable value and scarcity. However, just like with cryptocurrencies, it's crucial to separate speculation from real value. Many NFTs lost their initial price because they were bought purely on hype, without any real purpose or utility. The future doesn't belong to meaningless, artistic NFTs, but to those with practical applications. For example, in education, where a diploma could be issued as an NFT, or in real estate, where a property could be tokenized and sold in parts to thousands of investors. That's the true potential, digitizing the value of the physical world and making it globally accessible. The third pillar of the new digital ecosystem is tech startups. Small companies born to solve big problems using innovation, data, and artificial intelligence. Investing in startups is no longer exclusive to millionaires. Today, crowdfunding platforms allow anyone to participate with small amounts and become a partner in projects with global potential. Companies that start in a garage can, in just a few years, transform into giants that change entire industries. Investing in them requires patience, vision, and analysis, but when you get it right, the results can be exponential. Meanwhile, artificial intelligence, AI, is redefining how we work, consume, and invest. From algorithms that predict market movements to bots that operate automatically or systems that create content, AI is now one of the most profitable assets, though not always directly. Investing in AI can mean buying shares in companies that develop it, investing in specialized funds, or even using it as a tool to improve your financial decisions. Artificial intelligence won't replace you, but someone who uses it might. The most important principle when investing in the digital world is prudence with a long-term perspective. Don't be swayed by the fear of missing out, FOMO, or by promises of quick profits. Digital investments require constant education. You must understand the technical risks, regulations, platform security, and the custody of your assets. Ignorance is the greatest cost an investor can pay. Invest time before money. Smart diversification is key. Don't put all your capital into a single cryptocurrency, or all into startups, or all into digital gold. Balance your portfolio by combining traditional and digital assets. A simple example, 50% in physical assets like real estate or metals, 30% in businesses or funds, and 20% in digital assets. This type of structure protects your wealth without leaving you behind in the technological revolution. The biggest risk in this new era isn't investing and losing, but failing to adapt to change. Those who ignored the internet in the 90s missed unimaginable opportunities. Today, those who ignore the digitalization of finance will repeat history. You don't need to be a programmer or an expert. You just need curiosity, an open mind, and the discipline to learn. The rules of money are being rewritten, and digital financial literacy will be the new literacy of the 21st century. Building a solid digital portfolio begins with 3 steps: education, security, and strategy. First, learn the basics: how blockchains work, what a wallet is, and how to protect your private keys. Security is your responsibility. Second, choose trustworthy platforms and avoid promises of fixed or excessive returns. If something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Third, establish a strategy. Define what percentage of your capital you will allocate for what time frame and with what objective. Don't invest impulsively, invest with purpose. Many of today's top investors started with small amounts. They bought a fraction of Bitcoin or invested in a local startup out of curiosity, not ambition, and over time those decisions grew into wealth. The magic of the digital world is that access is open to everyone. What makes the difference is who decides to act and who keeps waiting. Money no longer moves in banknotes but in data. Borders have blurred, currencies have been digitized, and opportunities are multiplying in the cloud. But the principle remains the same as always. Invest intelligently, not emotionally. Every economic revolution has winners and losers. The winners aren't those who predict the future, but those who understand it before everyone else. In this era, the new rich won't be those who inherited wealth, but those who learn to invest digitally with wisdom. The future of money isn't in banks, it's in technology. And those who learn to use it will not only protect their wealth, but will be the architects of the new global financial system. Because money, like energy, doesn't disappear, it just changes form. And today its new form is digital. Chapter 8, Asset Number 6, Continuing Financial Education. Benjamin Franklin famously said something that perfectly encapsulates the principle of this chapter. Invest in yourself, for that interest will never fail to pay. The wealthy understand this instinctively. They know that knowledge not only gives them an advantage but also power. The difference between those who prosper and those who stagnate is rarely a matter of luck or external opportunities. It lies in what each person knows how to do with what they have. Therefore, financial education is not a luxury, but a vital necessity. It is the asset that multiplies all others because when you understand the rules of money, you no longer depend on luck, but on strategy. Most people spend more than 12 years in the education system without receiving a single lesson on how to manage money. We're taught mathematical formulas but not how compound interest works. We're taught economic history but not how to build wealth. We learn to memorize, not to multiply. That's why the vast majority, even with good jobs, remain trapped in the same cycle. Earn, spend, go into debt, and repeat. Meanwhile, those who become financially educated break that cycle and begin to build freedom, not just income. Wealthy people never stop learning because they understand that the world changes faster than it seems. What worked 10 years ago may be obsolete today. New technologies, new markets, new laws, new financial instruments. Those who don't keep up fall behind. Continuous financial education isn't just about reading books on money, but about understanding the real economy, patterns of human behavior, the psychology of investing, and risk management. It's not enough to simply earn more. You have to learn how to preserve and grow your wealth. Intelligent learning begins with recognizing something. Not all knowledge is created equal. Some information entertains, while other information transforms. Learning about finance isn't about consuming motivational videos or inspirational quotes, but about understanding principles you can apply. For example, how inflation works, how to calculate return on investment, how to analyze a balance sheet, or how to create a passive income stream. The more you understand these concepts, the clearer economic reality becomes, and the easier it is to make sound decisions. One of the most effective ways to advance is by applying the 70/20/10 rule to your educational investment. This simple rule helps you balance your personal growth. 70% of what you learn should come from direct practice. Starting businesses, investing, testing, and making mistakes. There is no deeper learning than that which comes from experience. 20% should come from observation and mentorship. Learning from those who have already achieved what you seek, listening to their stories, analyzing their decisions, and modeling their strategies. And the remaining 10% comes from theory, books, courses, seminars, and documentaries. This ratio keeps you balanced between action and knowledge. Too much theory without practice leads to paralysis. Too much action without education produces costly mistakes. Choosing the right mentors and books is a key skill. A good mentor doesn't tell you what you want to hear, but what you need to hear. They challenge you, confront you, and help you grow. Don't look for someone who boasts about results. Look for someone who teaches processes. The difference is enormous. Some show off cars and watches, while others show balance sheets, habits, and strategies. The former sell illusions. The latter teach how to build. A genuine mentor doesn't make you dependent. They make you independent. When it comes to books, choose those that make you think, not just feel. Titles like Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clason, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker, or Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill are classics that have shaped abundance mindsets for generations. But don't stop there. Delve deeper into economics, financial behavior, and the psychology of money. True freedom lies not in accumulating money, but in understanding how the system that drives it works. You must also learn how to protect yourself from financial scams and fake gurus. In the digital age, so-called experts abound, promising to multiply your money risk-free, along with coaches who charge you for empty motivation. and systems that offer unrealistic returns. The golden rule is simple: if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. No serious investor promises guaranteed results. True masters don't sell shortcuts, they teach paths. Before entrusting your money or time to someone, verify their track record, look for real evidence, and consider whether their success depends on teaching or on applying what they learn. The most common scams are disguised as opportunities. Financial pyramids, Ponzi schemes, miraculous trading platforms, or even courses that promise to make you a millionaire in weeks. They all appeal to the human desire for quick results. But real wealth isn't built in days, it's built through sustained decisions. The antidote to scams isn't distrust, but education. Those who understand how money works don't fall into traps. Financial education doesn't just transform your bank account, it transforms your mindset. When you understand that every expense is an investment decision, you begin to prioritize. When you understand that compound interest can work for you or against you, you change your relationship with debt. When you recognize that money is not an end in itself but a tool, you stop chasing it and start managing it. Knowledge doesn't give you instant money, but it gives you something more valuable: control. A powerful habit is creating a personal financial growth plan. This isn't about studying impulsively but with purpose. Define your weak areas, for example, investing, budgeting, taxes, leadership, mindset, and establish a monthly study schedule. Choose a book or course each month, listen to audiobooks while traveling, attend conferences or workshops, and above all, share what you learn. Teaching others multiplies your understanding. Every new piece of knowledge should be translated into action. Adjusting your budget, testing an investment, starting a business, or correcting a mistake. Remember that financial education isn't an event, it's a lifestyle. It's not about accumulating degrees or certifications, but about developing practical wisdom. Knowledge you don't apply evaporates. That's why, every time you learn something new, ask yourself, how can I use this today? That simple question transforms information into real power. Wealthy people don't read out of obligation, they read for survival. They know the financial world is a battleground where the rules change every year. Rates, currencies, technologies, regulations, everything is constantly evolving. And those who don't evolve are left behind. Continuing education is the shield that protects your mind from obsolescence. Investing in your mind offers the highest returns and lowest risk in the world. It requires no intermediaries, is independent of the global economy, and no one can take it away from you. Knowledge acquired and applied becomes a lasting asset. It can generate money, relationships, opportunities, and freedom throughout your life. Imagine two people starting with the same amount of capital. One invests it all in a business without understanding it. The other invests first in learning how to do it right. The second might take longer to start, but when they do, they build something solid. Knowledge multiplies the effectiveness of every action. Every informed decision reduces risk and increases the chances of success. Becoming financially literate doesn't mean becoming an expert in numbers, but in strategies. You don't need to be an economist, but you do need to be financially aware. Aware of where your money flows, why you make certain decisions, and how you can improve them. That awareness is the foundation of freedom. In a world where financial illiteracy is paid for with debt and anxiety, education is your lifeline. Banks, corporations, and systems profit from the fact that most people don't understand how money works. But when you understand it, you change the game. You're no longer a cog in the machine. You become the player. That's why continuous financial education never ends. Every book, every course, every mentor is an investment in yourself. Because ultimately, your mind is your most powerful asset. And when you feed it with real knowledge, you become immune to fear, manipulation, and scarcity. That's true wealth. Mental freedom, financial clarity, and the power to make decisions. Money can be lost, businesses can fail, markets can crash. But what you learn, what you understand, and what you apply, no one can take that away from you. Because while others hoard money, you accumulate wisdom. And wisdom, when put into action, creates lasting wealth. Chapter 9, Asset Number 7, Your Network of Contacts, Social Capital. There's a truth few understand until it's too late. Money opens doors, but relationships open worlds. Social capital is that invisible asset that can lead you to opportunities money alone could never provide. While many focus on accumulating material wealth, the truly wealthy invest in building valuable relationships. Because in business, in investing, and in life, it's not just what you know that matters, but who knows you, who trusts you, and who is willing to take risks with you. Imagine for a moment that you lose everything. Your money, your possessions, your investments. But you retain your network, your allies, your mentors, your clients. If you've built real, solid relationships, you could start over from scratch and recover your wealth in no time. That's the difference between having money and having social capital. Money gets spent, relationships multiply. Networking isn't simply about accumulating names in an address book or adding contacts on social media. It's the art of connecting based on value, not need. Many people approach others with the wrong mindset. What can I get from this person? Instead, true success players ask themselves, what can I offer? The power of giving before receiving is the oldest and most effective principle of building lasting relationships. Think about how great opportunities operate. A profitable business, a strategic alliance, a joint investment, a valuable recommendation. All of these stem from conversations, trust, and relationships. No one entrusts their money, time, or reputation to someone they don't know or trust. That's why building social capital isn't about being popular, but about being trustworthy. It's about being the person who keeps their word, adds value, listens more than they speak, and helps others grow alongside them. Strategic networking is built with intention. It's not by chance, it's by design. It's about approaching the right people in the right places with the right attitude. Attend events, conferences, forums, and professional communities. Don't go to sell yourself, go to learn, to observe, to offer. Every conversation can be a seed. Some germinate quickly, others take years. But if you cultivate your network consistently and authentically, it will always bear fruit. The most common mistake is thinking that networking is all about impressing others. But the best connections are built when you're authentic. People quickly detect when someone is acting out of self-interest. On the other hand, when you show genuine interest, when you listen, when you care about understanding the other person's needs, you create real bonds. In the long run, that's worth more than any business card. Another key to social capital is learning to choose mentors and growth allies. A good mentor not only teaches you what they know but also shares their network with you. They introduce you to people who can accelerate your progress. But to attract a good mentor, you must first demonstrate commitment, respect, and action. Mentors don't waste time with those who do nothing. They seek disciples, not spectators. Someone willing to apply, to fail, to get back up, to learn. If you want someone at a high level to take you seriously, become someone who executes. Your growth allies aren't necessarily your lifelong friends. Sometimes the people closest to you emotionally aren't the best for financial advancement. You need to surround yourself with big thinkers, those who push you to grow, those who take you out of your comfort zone. If you're in an environment where you're the smartest or the most successful, you're in the wrong place. Wealthy people seek out tables where they can learn, not where they can show off. Collaboration is another jewel of social capital. Many try to do everything alone, believing that this way they retain more profit. But true power lies in synergy. 1 plus 1, when combined intelligently, can equal 10. Collaborating doesn't mean depending. It means leveraging. Perhaps you have the idea and someone else has the capital. You have the strategy and someone else has the audience. You have the product and they have the distribution. Collaboration accelerates processes that individually would take years. And here a universal principle comes into play: reciprocity. Every solid relationship is based on exchange. Not necessarily money, but energy, support, knowledge, trust. When you help others achieve their goals, they inevitably help you achieve yours. Life has a curious way of rewarding those who give without expecting anything in return. The most powerful connections often arise from simple acts: a sincere recommendation, a selfless introduction, timely assistance. A clear example of multiplier social capital is that of entrepreneurs who started without vast resources but with a strong network. Think of someone like Richard Branson, founder of Virgin. His success stemmed not only from his entrepreneurial genius but also from his ability to connect with the right people. He surrounded himself with creative minds, investors, collaborators, and partners who shared his vision. The same is true for Elon Musk. Beyond his technical talent, his rise was fueled by strategic alliances and relationships with key figures in the technology and financial industries. But we don't have to look that far. In everyday life, there are thousands of examples of people who transformed their destinies thanks to their network. The employee who landed a better job through a recommendation. The entrepreneur who sold their product thanks to a connection. The investor who found their best business opportunity through a casual conversation. In the real world, relationships are the most valuable currency. However, building a powerful network requires ethics. It's not about manipulating or using people. Authentic social capital is based on integrity and respect. People forget what you said, but they never forget how you made them feel. Trust is earned over time but lost in seconds. If you promise something, deliver. If you can't help, be honest. And if someone helps you, show gratitude. Gratitude is the energy that keeps relationships alive. It's also important to diversify your network. Don't limit yourself to a single group or industry. Connect with people from different sectors, age groups, and mindsets. Diversity broadens your perspective and exposes you to fresh ideas. Sometimes the greatest opportunity won't come from the world you already know, but from one you haven't yet explored. Social capital isn't just measured by how many people you know, but by how many would trust you. And that trust is built on reputation. Your word, your consistency, your behavior, everything communicates. Every time you deliver a job on time, every time you go above and beyond what you promise, every time you act with honesty, you're accumulating invisible credit. That credit, at the right moment, can open the door to a partner, a client, or an investor. In a hyper-connected world where social media dominates interaction, authenticity has become a rare commodity. Many project an image that doesn't reflect their reality. But those who show themselves as they truly are, without masks, forge a human connection that transcends the digital realm. Real relationships aren't built on likes, but on trust and shared time. Remember, wealthy people don't just invest in material assets. They invest in people. They know that behind every opportunity there's a face, a conversation, a relationship. When money runs out, social capital keeps generating revenue. When a business fails, relationships can give rise to another. When you lose a client, a referral can bring them back. Your network is your financial mirror. If you surround yourself with complainers, you'll spend. If you surround yourself with learners, you'll grow. If you surround yourself with investors, you'll prosper. Your environment determines your direction. Therefore, choose wisely who you surround yourself with, who influences your decisions, and who you choose to listen to. Social capital isn't measured in quantity, but in quality. You don't need to know 1,000 people. You need to connect deeply with a few who share your vision, values, and purpose. Building authentic relationships takes time, but the rewards last a lifetime. Because ultimately, opportunities don't fall from the sky. They come through people. And when your network grows with you, your wealth multiplies. Investing in human relationships is investing in the most powerful asset of all: trust. Chapter 10, Asset Number 8. Investments in funds, stocks, and dividends. Money has its own language, and those who learn to speak it discover that it can work for them around the clock, even while they sleep. The wealthy don't keep money in the bank, they put it into circulation. And one of the most powerful ways to do this is through the stock market. It's not about gambling or guessing which stock will rise tomorrow. It's about understanding the system, mastering it with discipline, and using it to your advantage. The stock market wasn't created for geniuses, but for patient people. Those who understand this can transform their financial future. To understand how the stock market works, imagine a large marketplace like those old-fashioned bazaars filled with stalls. At each stall, instead of fruit or fabrics, there are companies. When you buy a stock, you're buying a small part of a company. If that company grows, earns more money, and increases in value, your stock also increases. It's not magic, it's participation. You're not just a spectator of the economic system, you're part of it. And that completely changes the way you view money. Most people are afraid to invest because they see it as a risky game. But the real risk isn't in investing, it's in not investing. Every year your money sits in the bank, it loses purchasing power due to inflation. On the other hand, when you invest, your money has the potential to grow. The secret lies in understanding the type of investment that suits your profile and goals. Not everyone needs to be a trader or spend all day staring at charts. Smart investing isn't about speed, it's about direction. This is where index funds and ETFs come in. These instruments are like baskets that group many different stocks. Instead of betting on a single company, you invest in a collection of them. For example, if you buy an index fund that tracks the S&P 500, you're investing in the 500 largest companies in the United States. If one goes down, another goes up, and the average tends to grow over time. It's like betting on the global economy, not just one company. That's why legendary investors like Warren Buffett recommend this type of investment for most people. ETFs, exchange-traded funds, work the same way, but they are traded on stock exchanges like individual stocks. You can easily buy or sell them from your phone, without extensive technical knowledge. They are transparent, accessible, and allow you to diversify your money without needing thousands of dollars. With just a few ETFs, you can gain exposure to technology, energy, healthcare, or even international markets. Dividend-paying stocks, on the other hand, represent one of the most elegant ways to generate passive income. Some companies, instead of reinvesting all their profits, distribute a portion of them to their shareholders each quarter. It's like owning a rental property, but without tenants or maintenance. You own a part of the business and that business pays you for your stake. Solid companies like Coca-Cola, Johnson & Johnson, and Procter & Gamble have paid dividends for decades, even during times of crisis. This demonstrates that investing in stable companies can provide a consistent and predictable source of income. Many successful investors follow a simple strategy: buy stocks or funds with growth potential and reinvest the dividends they receive. This cycle creates an unstoppable domino effect called compound interest. Albert Einstein called it the eighth wonder of the world because it allows money to grow exponentially. The concept is simple. When your investments generate returns, those returns are reinvested and begin to generate even more returns. Thus, over time, the growth curve skyrockets. Let's consider a practical example. If you invest $100 a month in a fund that yields an average annual return of 10%, in 20 years you won't just have $24,000 saved, but over $68,000. All you did was invest consistently and let compound interest work its magic. Now imagine if it were $300 or $500 a month, or if you started earlier. You don't need to be a millionaire to invest. You invest to become one. The key is patience and consistency. The market rewards those who think in terms of decades, not days. Many beginners make the mistake of jumping in and out of investments looking for quick profits. That's a recipe for losing money. In contrast, successful investors follow a clear strategy. They buy quality assets, hold them, reinvest their profits, and let time do the work. The real secret lies in automating the process. You don't need to check the market every day or guess when to buy or sell. You can schedule automatic transfers from your bank account to your chosen funds or stocks. Every month, effortlessly, your money is invested, generating more money. This automation not only eliminates human error and emotion but also turns investing into a habit. Just as you pay your bills or debts, you should prioritize your financial future. Technology has democratized access to investing. Today, you can open an investment account from your cell phone without paperwork and with small amounts. There are platforms that allow you to invest in fractional shares, so you can own a stake in a company like Tesla or Apple without needing thousands of dollars. There are also automated funds that intelligently diversify your money according to your risk profile. There's no valid excuse not to invest. The barrier to entry is no longer money but mindset. But investing isn't a trend. It's a strategy. Before you put in a single dollar, define your time horizon, your risk tolerance, and your goals. If your goal is financial freedom, you need to build a balanced portfolio that combines security and growth. Index funds give you stability, dividend stocks give you cash flow, and growth investments like technology give you potential. The right mix is up to you, but the principle is the same. Make every dollar work for you. It's also crucial to learn how to manage your emotions. When the market falls, many panic and sell. Wise investors do the opposite, they buy. Volatility isn't your enemy, it's part of the process. The market moves like a pendulum, and those who understand its rhythm know how to capitalize on its swings. Warren Buffett famously said, "Be fearful when others are greedy, and be greedy when others are fearful." That sums up the entire psychology of the successful investor. Another crucial piece of advice is not to try to predict the market. Nobody can do it consistently, not even experts. That's why systematic investing, with automatic monthly contributions, eliminates the need to time things perfectly. When you invest regularly, you buy at different prices, average your costs, and reduce risk. It's the simplest and most effective strategy there is. And don't forget to diversify. Never put all your money into a single stock or sector. If the tech market falls, energy or healthcare funds can compensate. If the United States faces a recession, other markets can grow. Diversifying is about protecting your future. It's not about having many investments but about having the right ones. The power of investing lies not only in the numbers, but also in the mindset it cultivates. Investing forces you to think long-term, to be disciplined, to value patience, and to trust the process. You begin to see money as a tool, not an end in itself. Every contribution you make is a seed you're planting for your freedom. Ultimately, investing isn't about getting rich quick, it's about becoming free. Free from fear, dependency, and uncertainty. When your investments generate enough passive income to cover your expenses, you enter the true realm of financial freedom. You no longer work for money, money works for you. So stop letting your money sit idle, rusting away. Take it out of the bank and put it to work. You don't need luck or special connections, just knowledge, discipline, and consistency. Because in the world of investing, wealth isn't built overnight, but one day at a time. And every day that passes without investing is a day your money could have been working for you. Chapter 11, Asset Number 9, Time and Health, the Invisible Assets. There's a truth the rich and wise know, but most ignore until it's too late. Money can't buy time, energy, or mental clarity. You can have millions in the bank, properties, investments, and businesses, but if your body is sick or your mind is exhausted, all that wealth becomes a burden. Time and health are the most valuable assets, and paradoxically, the ones we take the least care of when we're obsessed with making money. True wealth begins when you understand that your body and mind are the tools that allow you to create everything else. Without them, nothing has value. Time is the only resource that can't be recovered. Every minute you waste unintentionally, every hour you sacrifice on things that don't bring you closer to your goals, is a lost investment. Wealthy people don't just manage their money, they manage their time with surgical precision. They know how to say no to anything that doesn't add value. They understand that rest, focus, and planning are investments that multiply their productivity. They don't work longer hours, they work smarter. They don't seek to be busy, they seek to be effective. Similarly, health is the foundation upon which all lasting wealth is built. A strong body with energy and mental clarity produces high-value ideas, decisions, and results. A sick body, on the other hand, drains energy, scatters focus, and leads to impulsive decisions. The world's great investors, entrepreneurs, and leaders don't just have financial advisors. They also have personal trainers, preventative medicine specialists, sleep coaches, and self-care routines. They understand that their body is their most important asset, and if they don't take care of it, everything falls apart. Taking care of your body isn't a luxury, it's an investment. Every healthy habit you adopt, sleeping well, eating clean, exercising, avoiding unnecessary stress, has a real financial return, even if you don't see it immediately. A clear mind makes wiser decisions. An energized body performs faster. A calm nervous system allows you to think strategically, even in times of crisis. Self-care isn't weakness, it's advanced financial strategy. And it's not just about physical health, but also mental and emotional well-being. Many lose fortunes because they don't know how to handle pressure, anxiety, or frustration. Money amplifies who you already are. If you're disciplined, it will multiply you. If you're impulsive, it will destroy you. Mental health allows you to stay grounded when everything seems uncertain. It gives you the clarity to distinguish between an opportunity and a trap. And above all, it allows you to enjoy the process without becoming a slave to your own goals. Discipline is a form of wealth that isn't reflected in a bank account, but is evident in the results. Those who master their minds master their finances. Discipline isn't about doing a lot, but about doing the right thing even when you don't feel like it. It's waking up early when you could sleep in. It's investing when others spend. It's taking care of your body when others neglect it. It's saying no to immediate comfort in order to say yes to future freedom. Discipline creates wealth because it eliminates indecision, chaos, and wasted time. A high-performance financial routine involves more than just reviewing your investments or income. It includes taking care of your energy, rest, nutrition, and mental environment. The world's wealthiest people have daily rituals that keep them focused. They meditate, read, exercise, reflect, and plan. This isn't by chance. Routine creates structure, and structure creates predictable results. If you leave your health or your time to chance, your finances will be too. Time isn't just measured in hours, it's measured in focus. 1 hour of deep work is worth more than 8 hours of constant distraction. Wealthy people know how to eliminate interruptions, create spaces of silence, and focus on what's essential. They understand that multitasking is an enemy of progress and that mindfulness is a competitive advantage. When you learn to protect your time, you become the master of your life. And when you are the master of your life, money becomes a tool, not an end in itself. Taking care of your health and your time also means choosing your battles. Not everything is worthwhile. Not every opportunity is good. Not everyone deserves your energy. Learning to prioritize is a form of wisdom. Ask yourself every day, is what I'm doing bringing me closer to or further from my purpose? If the answer is no, let it go without guilt. Every minute reclaimed is an invisible asset that brings you closer to freedom. The balance between productivity and well-being isn't a myth, it's a skill that can be developed. It's about working intensely but also resting intentionally. It's about being ambitious but not anxious. It's about earning money but without losing yourself in the process. True success isn't measured solely in numbers but in quality of life. Sleeping well, laughing, having time for your family, feeling at peace, all of that is also wealth. Financial freedom is meaningless without emotional freedom. The secret lies in building a lifestyle that works for you. Plan your week to include time for movement, reflection, rest, and enjoyment. Make wellness a non-negotiable habit. Treat your body as if it were the vehicle that will take you to success, because it is. Learn to say no to what drains you and yes to what expands you. Imagine your health as an invisible savings account. Every healthy choice is a deposit, every excess a withdrawal. If you abuse your body, one day your health bank will charge you exorbitant interest. But if you take care of it, you accumulate energy, vitality, and longevity. That energy translates into productivity, clarity, and results. Time and health are the foundations upon which everything else is built. Don't neglect them. Wealth isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. And to go far you need endurance. The poor trade time for money, the rich use their time to multiply their freedom. The poor neglect their health to produce more. The wise take care of their health to produce better. True independence lies in that shift in mindset. Remember, your body is your most important asset and your time your most valuable currency. Take care of them as you would your investments. Manage them wisely, protect them from distractions, and invest them with purpose. Because lost money can be recovered, but time and health never return. Those who learn to care for these two invisible assets live with abundance, freedom, and peace. That is the true meaning of wealth. Chapter 12, Asset Number 10. Impact and Purpose, Transcendent Wealth. There's a point on the financial journey where money ceases to be the goal and becomes a tool. When you reach that level of awareness, you understand that true wealth isn't measured by what you accumulate, but by what you generate in others. The true meaning of money is freedom, yes, but also contribution. It's the ability to choose what you do with your time, how you use your resources, and who you help grow alongside you. Truly wealthy people don't live solely to earn. They live to leave a mark. Their success isn't measured in numbers but in the legacy they build. Money without purpose becomes empty. You can have a mansion, cars, luxuries, and power, but if you don't know why you do what you do, there will come a time when you feel a void that money can't fill. That's why great investors, entrepreneurs, and leaders end up searching for something deeper. Meaning. Purpose gives direction to wealth. It's the engine that keeps motivation burning when you're no longer doing things out of necessity. It's the fuel of fulfillment. When money becomes a means, not an end, you begin to experience a form of abundance that transcends the material. You start to understand that your success isn't complete if you don't contribute to the success of others. That the knowledge you've accumulated, the experiences you've had, and the resources you've generated have more value when you share them. Purpose transforms wealth into impact. And that impact, in turn, multiplies your prosperity in a way that selfishness could never achieve. Using your wealth to transform your environment doesn't mean mindlessly giving away money. It means investing in causes, projects, and people who create real change. It means supporting ideas that improve the lives of others, educating, creating opportunities, and empowering communities. The purpose-driven wealthy don't just donate. They design sustainable solutions. They don't seek recognition. They seek transformation. They understand that every dollar invested consciously can multiply infinitely in well-being, progress, and hope. Purpose gives you clarity to decide what's worth getting involved in. It allows you to choose businesses aligned with your values, projects that build up rather than tear down. Money has power, and that power can change lives, but only if used wisely. A purpose-driven investment not only provides financial returns, it gives you inner peace. It reminds you that your efforts have meaning, that you're contributing to something bigger than yourself. When you discover your purpose, everything changes. Your goals become clearer, your decisions are simpler, your energy multiplies. You no longer work just for money, you work for impact. You no longer compete, you collaborate. You no longer accumulate, you share. And paradoxically, the more you give, the more you receive. The universe, life, or energy, call it what you will, responds abundantly to those who contribute genuine value. A legacy mindset is what distinguishes an ordinary rich person from a transcendent one. The ordinary rich person seeks immediate gratification, recognition, and status. The transcendent rich person seeks to leave behind something that outlives them. They don't just work to live well, they work so that others can live well too. They build businesses that create jobs, create products that improve lives, and share knowledge that liberates minds. They understand that wealth doesn't end when they die, but when it ceases to inspire. Many of the world's millionaires experienced this transition. At first, it's all about freedom, then it becomes about purpose. First, they seek independence, then they seek to help others become less dependent. It's a natural evolution of the financial soul. When your life is settled and your needs are met, the only thing that truly fulfills you is the impact you create. Money at that point becomes a channel for service. And you don't need to be a billionaire to have purpose. Anyone can make an impact from their own level. You can start by helping your community, sharing your knowledge, educating others about finance, supporting local causes, or promoting critical thinking. Impact isn't measured in quantity, it's measured in intention. If just one person's life improves because of you, you're already creating transcendent wealth. Purpose also protects your mind from the emptiness of superficial success. Many achieve material wealth but lose their sense of purpose because they never defined a why. Wealth without direction becomes a burden. Having money without purpose is like having a ship without a compass. You can sail fast but you don't know where you're going. In contrast, when your wealth is guided by values, every decision has coherence, every achievement has meaning, and every obstacle offers a lesson. Impact doesn't just transform the world, it transforms you. It makes you more aware, more grateful, and wiser. It teaches you that money isn't the end goal, but rather a means to create experiences, opportunities, and hope. When you help others thrive, you reinforce an abundance mindset within yourself. You realize that money is energy in motion, and the more it circulates with purpose, the more it flows back to you. Conscious prosperity isn't about living with guilt for having money, but about using it responsibly. It's not about being a martyr, but about being mindful. It's about understanding that every economic action has an impact on people, on the environment, on society. It's about choosing to consume ethically, investing sustainably, and supporting humane, not destructive projects. That, too, is a form of spiritual wealth. Purpose, moreover, gives you an emotional resilience that money alone cannot provide. When your motivation stems from impact, you can weather financial ups and downs without giving up, because you know you're serving something greater than your earnings. That vision keeps you focused when others despair. It makes you a leader, not just an investor. True financial freedom comes when you can choose to work because you love it, not out of obligation. But transcendent freedom comes when you use that freedom to serve, inspire, and transform. Money ceases to be a goal and becomes a multiplier of purpose. Your life becomes coherent. Every day you work on something you love, contribute to something that matters, and create something that lasts. Remember this: purpose isn't found, it's built. It's born from your values, your experiences, and the people you choose to impact. Ask yourself every day, how can I use my talents, my money, and my time to improve the world even just a little? If every human being did this, the collective wealth would be infinite. The true investor doesn't just seek money, they seek meaning. They understand that the most powerful capital is human capital. That the greatest return comes from a life lived with purpose. That the highest wealth is the kind that leaves a mark on others. Because when everything else disappears, money, possessions, titles, the only thing that remains is the legacy you leave behind. And that legacy is a reflection of your purpose. Thus, you complete the cycle of wealth. You begin by seeking freedom and end by seeking transcendence. Money was merely the tool, you were the architect. And if you manage to transform your success into service, you will have reached the highest level of prosperity. Living with purpose, contributing with love, and leaving an impact that inspires generations. Epilogue: The New Investor's Path. He who masters the art of multiplying his money also masters the art of multiplying his freedom. This phrase encapsulates the spirit of the new investor. Someone who no longer sees money as an end in itself, but as a tool to design the life he or she desires. The new investor doesn't wait for the system to save him or blindly trust the bank, the government, or luck. He or she takes control. He or she educates himself, takes action, and builds assets that give him or her back time, security, and purpose. Applying the principles of new wealth doesn't require millions. It requires awareness. It all starts with a decision. Stop hoarding money and start moving it intelligently. Money is like water. If you leave it still, it stagnates. But if you make it flow, it generates life, opportunities, and growth. This is how the new investor operates. Keeping their money moving, working for them instead of being a slave to work. The first step is to organize your personal finances. You can't invest what you don't understand. You have to honestly look at your numbers, how much you earn, how much you spend, and how much you waste. Analyze your financial habits like a surgeon examines their diagnosis. Every unprompted drain on your finances is an opportunity for improvement. The new investor knows that before earning more, they must learn to manage their money better. Because wealth doesn't depend on income but on how it's managed. Next, you need to create a stability fund, a solid foundation that allows you to invest without fear. The most common mistake is jumping in without a safety net. Having 3 to 6 months of expenses covered gives you peace of mind and freedom of choice. It's not about accumulating out of fear, but about building a platform that allows you to act strategically. Security is the first step toward expansion. Then comes the time to build assets one by one. Start small but start. Perhaps a course to improve your skills, an investment in gold, a small property, or an index fund. The amount doesn't matter. What matters is the movement. Each asset you generate is a seed planted for your freedom. And like any seed, it needs time, patience, and consistency. The new investor understands that growth isn't linear, but exponential. What seems small today can be a mountain tomorrow if you let it multiply. The key is to automate your progress. Don't make emotional decisions. Create systems. Save and invest automatically. Define a fixed percentage of your income that will go directly into your assets. No debate, no excuses. Financial discipline is the bridge between desire and independence. The new investor doesn't depend on motivation. They depend on their habits. The next step is continuous learning. The economy changes, markets evolve, and technologies transform. What worked for you yesterday may be obsolete tomorrow. That's why the modern investor cultivates a flexible mind. Read, listen, ask questions, and experiment. Every new skill or piece of knowledge you acquire broadens your financial horizons. Because what you ignore costs you money, but what you learn pays you back many times over. And as you grow, remember something essential. It's not all about money. Your body, your time, and your relationships are the invisible assets that underpin everything else. If you lose your health, you lose your ability to produce. If you sacrifice your relationships, you lose balance. If you don't take care of your time, you lose the opportunity to live fully. The new investor isn't just looking for financial abundance. They're looking for holistic abundance. A long-term mindset is the heart of sustainable wealth. Quick money is tempting, but real wealth is built with vision. Don't be fooled by appearances. Most people seek immediate gains, but those who become truly wealthy think in terms of decades. Patience is the most underrated tool in the financial world. Those who weather the volatility and keep investing when others flee win. Because wealth isn't a sprint, it's a marathon of discipline. On this path you will make mistakes. You will lose money, time, or energy. But the new investor doesn't stop. They learn, adjust, and keep going. Every stumble teaches something no book can explain. Direct experience is the most demanding teacher, but also the wisest. The only real loss is that of the one who gives up. Transforming from a saver to an asset builder involves fundamentally changing your relationship with money. The saver protects, the investor expands. The saver fears loss, the investor seeks to learn. The saver sees scarcity, the investor sees opportunity. This mindset shift is profound, and once it happens, there's no going back. You begin to see the world through the eyes of creation, not consumption. Every expense is evaluated as a potential investment. Every day becomes an opportunity to multiply your value. Remember, financial independence isn't achieved when you have millions, but when your money works for you even while you sleep. When your assets generate enough income to cover your needs, you've won. But it's not just about living without working. It's about having the power to choose what to do with your time. That's true freedom, the power to decide. And there comes a point when money ceases to be the focus. When your foundation is solid, when your cash flow is secure, you discover that the most valuable thing wasn't the money, but the person you became in the process. Disciplined, focused, patient, generous, free. Because money only amplifies what you already are. If you are mindful, you create abundance for yourself and others. If you are fearful, you repeat cycles of scarcity. Wealth begins in the mind long before it begins in the bank account. The new investor doesn't compete with others. They compete with their past self. They don't seek to outdo their neighbor, but rather to surpass their own limitations. Their success isn't measured by what they show, but by what they build. They live with purpose, act strategically, and let the results speak for themselves. Their goal isn't to boast, but to transcend. Today, the system rewards those who adapt quickly, those who think differently. We live in an era where an idea can be worth more than a degree, a network can be more powerful than a bank, and an awakened mind can generate wealth from anywhere in the world. But only if you are willing to act. Knowledge without action is a burden. Purposeful action is freedom. So start today. Not tomorrow, not when you have more money. Start with what you have and where you are. Learn, invest, repeat. Let each financial decision be a brick in the building of your independence. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Create it. Because the new investor isn't born of luck, but of commitment. Your new financial life doesn't begin with a number, it begins with a choice. The choice to stop saving money and start building assets. That simple decision can change your destiny. Because when you choose to own your money, you choose to own your life. And that's where true wealth begins, the kind that doesn't depend on the bank but on you. So, if this audiobook inspired you and you're ready to delve deeper into your personal growth and inner transformation, I invite you to discover another eye-opening audiobook that will change the way you see the world, your decisions, and your potential. Click here and I'll see you there.